Have you ever noticed that the greatest pain in life often comes from avoiding what truly matters? What if the very suffering you run from is the key to your success? And what if the hardest path is actually the one that leads to freedom? In life, there are two types of pain: the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline weighs only ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. If you're not willing to endure the pain of discipline, you'll be forced to live with the pain of regret. It's as simple as that. When I say make yourself suffer, I'm talking about choosing the harder path on purpose. It means waking up early when you'd rather stay in bed, going to the gym when you'd rather relax on the couch, saving money when you'd rather spend it, and having that uncomfortable conversation you've been avoiding. Success doesn't just fall into your lap. It's something you create. And creation, my friends, is painful. It takes sacrifice, commitment, and yes, suffering. But here's the truth. This kind of suffering is a gift. It's the price you pay for growth, the ticket to the life you want, and it's worth every ounce of effort. Think about it. Have you ever achieved anything meaningful without discomfort? Every great accomplishment in history was born out of struggle and perseverance. Some may ask, why would I want to make myself suffer? Isn't life hard enough already? I understand that question, but here's the truth. Life will always be hard. The real choice is, which kind of hard do you want? The hardship of regret and reaction, or the hardship of discipline and control? The one that shapes your destiny? Becoming the person you were meant to be requires choosing the right kind of struggle. There's a world of difference between the hardship that leaves you defeated and the one that makes you stronger, more capable, and fully alive. When you choose to make yourself suffer, when you pick discipline over comfort and growth over stagnation, you send a powerful message to yourself and the world. You're declaring, I'm in control. I am the master of my fate, the captain of my soul. That's where real power begins. It comes from knowing you can handle whatever life throws your way because you've already faced tougher challenges by choice. It's built through the confidence that grows each time you follow through on your word, especially when it's hard. Now, let's make this real. Making yourself suffer doesn't mean living in misery. It's not about denying all pleasure or isolating yourself like a monk. It means choosing growth over comfort again and again. It's setting your alarm for 5 a.m. and actually getting up when it rings, even when every part of you wants to stay in bed. It's putting on your running shoes when the rain is falling, sitting down to build your business plan while your favorite show is playing, saying no to that piece of cake when everyone else says yes, or having that difficult conversation you'd rather avoid. It's staying late to finish the work that matters most. Even when you'd rather relax after work or skip your side hustle, you keep going. And I know what you're thinking. Jim, that sounds exhausting. How long do I have to keep this up? Here's the truth. You don't have to do it forever, just long enough for it to become a habit. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. At first, it's tough. You'll feel like you're battling yourself every step of the way. But if you stay consistent, something incredible happens. Those hard choices begin to feel natural. The suffering fades, replaced by a quiet strength. That's when transformation begins, when the results of your effort finally appear. You look in the mirror and barely recognize yourself. Not because you've changed physically, though maybe you have, but because you've become someone who follows through, someone dependable, someone in control of their life. Let me share an example. I once knew a young man who struggled with his weight. He tried every diet imaginable, but nothing lasted. He'd lose a few pounds, then gain it all back, sometimes even more. Discouraged and ready to quit, he made a decision to make himself suffer. He committed to waking up at 5 a.m. every day to work out. He prepared all his meals in advance, even though he hated cooking. He tracked every calorie, even when it was tedious. The first few weeks were hell. He was tired, hungry, and constantly fighting old habits. But he stayed with it. And after a few months, things changed. The workouts became something he looked forward to. Meal prep turned into a Sunday ritual he enjoyed. Tracking calories became second nature. Before long, the results were beyond anything he had imagined. Not only did he lose the weight, but he gained something far more valuable: self-respect. He proved to himself that he could do hard things, that he was capable of real change, and that he was in control of his life. That's the true power of choosing to make yourself suffer. It's not just about external achievements, though those are rewarding. It's about who you become in the process. Now, let's be clear. When I talk about making yourself suffer, I'm not talking about martyrdom or suffering just for the sake of pain. I'm talking about strategic suffering, pain with purpose. There's a world of difference between random suffering and deliberate suffering. Random suffering, the kind life throws at us without warning, can tear us down if we let it. But deliberate suffering, the kind you choose in pursuit of a goal, builds you up. It strengthens you, toughens you, and makes you more resilient. Think of it like lifting weights. You're tearing muscle fibers, a form of controlled damage. Yet once they heal, they become stronger than before. That's exactly what happens when you choose to make yourself suffer for your goals. You're breaking down old habits, false beliefs, and limiting patterns. In their place, you build strength, confidence, and purpose. And I know what you're thinking. Jim, life is already hard. Why would I want to make it harder? I understand that completely. Life is tough. We all face challenges. But here's the truth. You have a choice in how you face them. We all face setbacks and disappointments. But here's the truth. There's a huge difference between the suffering that happens to you and the suffering you choose. When you choose your own suffering, when you deliberately push yourself beyond your comfort zone, you take control. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become the architect of your own growth. That single shift in perspective changes everything. I once met a woman who was terrified of public speaking. Just the thought of standing before an audience made her break into a cold sweat. But she knew that if she wanted to advance in her career, she had to face this fear. So what did she do? She made herself suffer. She joined a Toastmasters club and committed to giving a speech every week, no matter how afraid she felt. The first few times were brutal. Her hands trembled, her voice quivered, and she forgot half of what she meant to say. But she refused to give up. Week after week, she kept showing up, pushing herself through that self-imposed discomfort. Gradually, something changed. Her shaking hands grew steady. Her voice became firm and confident. Her words began to flow naturally. After a year of consistent effort, she was invited to speak at a major industry conference, and she delivered an incredible performance. She didn't just do well, she captivated the entire room, speaking with strength and conviction. You know what's funny? She laughed and said, "I actually enjoy it now. I look forward to it. It energizes me." Can you imagine that? This woman went from being paralyzed by fear to loving the very thing that once terrified her. And it all happened because she was willing to make herself suffer, to face her fear head-on, day after day, until she conquered it. That's the power of deliberate suffering. It doesn't just help you reach your goals, it transforms you. It turns weakness into strength, fear into opportunity, and limitations into launch pads. Now, let's make something clear. When I talk about making yourself suffer, I don't mean being harsh or cruel to yourself. This isn't about negative self-talk or punishment. That kind of suffering destroys you instead of building you up. The suffering I'm talking about is always paired with self-compassion. It's about pushing yourself, yes, but also acknowledging your progress along the way. It's celebrating small victories and treating yourself with kindness and understanding, even while holding yourself to high standards. Think of it like teaching a child to ride a bike. You wouldn't yell at them every time they fall. You'd encourage them, praise their effort, help them up, and cheer when they succeed. That's exactly how you must treat yourself when you choose to make yourself suffer. Be your own coach, your own supporter. Recognize the challenge, but celebrate your courage to keep going. Appreciate what you're doing, but don't let setbacks stop you. Recognize your progress, no matter how small. Celebrate your wins, even the ones that seem insignificant. Because here's the truth. The path of deliberate suffering is never easy. There will be days when you want to quit and moments when you question if it's all worth it. In those times, self-compassion keeps you going. It's what helps you rise, dust yourself off, and move forward again. Now, let's talk about another crucial part of making yourself suffer: consistency. It's not enough to push yourself once in a while or have bursts of motivation. Real transformation comes when suffering becomes a daily practice. I'm reminded of a young man who dreamed of becoming a writer. He always wanted to write a novel, but never found the time. Between a full-time job, family responsibilities, and endless distractions, life always got in the way. Then one day, he made a decision to make himself suffer. He committed to writing 1 hour every single day, no matter what. He set his alarm for 4 a.m., dragged himself out of bed, and sat at his computer, tired, blocked, and frustrated. The first few weeks were brutal. He felt exhausted, his writing forced and unnatural. He even wondered if he was cut out for it. But he kept going, day after day, week after week, month after month. And after a year of this daily discipline, he finished the first draft of his novel. Was it perfect? Of course not. But it was complete. He had done what most people only dream about. More importantly, he had proven to himself that he could do it. By the end of that year, something remarkable happened. Writing no longer felt like suffering. It had become part of him. It was as natural as breathing. He began to look forward to those early morning hours, cherishing that quiet time when the world slept and his creativity came alive. That's the power of consistent, deliberate suffering. It doesn't just help you reach your goals, it changes who you are. It turns discipline into habit, effort into second nature, and suffering into joy. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Jim, this all sounds great in theory, but my life is already full. I'm stretched thin. How am I supposed to find time to make myself suffer? And I understand. We're all busy, with constant demands on our time and energy. But here's the truth. If you want different results, you must make different choices. If you want to change your life, you have to change your priorities. We all get the same 24 hours each day. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't time. It's how they use it. It's about what they're willing to sacrifice in pursuit of something greater. So ask yourself, what are you willing to give up to make room for deliberate suffering? Are you willing to sacrifice an hour of sleep? Skip your favorite TV show? Cut back on scrolling through social media? Something has to give. You can't add without subtracting. You can't build new habits without letting go of old ones. You can't make yourself suffer without making sacrifices. But here's the beautiful part. The sacrifices are temporary. The rewards are permanent. The shows you skip, the comfort you lose, the sleep you trade, all fade away. But the discipline you build, the growth you earn, and the strength you gain will stay with you for life. The habits you build, and the person you become, can last a lifetime. Now, there's another crucial piece to making yourself suffer: having a clear purpose. Suffering without purpose is just masochism, pain for its own sake. That's not the goal. The suffering we choose must serve something greater. It needs a payoff, and that purpose is what keeps you going when things get tough. Picture climbing a mountain. It's hard. Your legs ache, your lungs burn, every step feels heavy. Why keep moving? Because you can see the summit. You can imagine the view, the pride of reaching the top. That's exactly how to approach deliberate suffering. Hold a clear vision of what you're working toward. See the person you're becoming, the life you're building, the goals you're hitting. So, before you start, get clear on your purpose. What's your summit? What payoff makes the pain worthwhile? Maybe it's launching a business, getting in the best shape of your life, writing a book, learning a new language, or becoming a world-class speaker. Whatever it is, make it crystal clear. Visualize it. Feel it. Make it so real you can almost taste it. When you do, the path, however hard, becomes possible. When you have a clear purpose, suffering becomes easier to bear. It gains meaning. It becomes a badge of honor, a sign you're on the right path, proof of your commitment to your goals. I'm reminded of a young athlete I once knew, a talented runner struggling to reach the next level. She was dedicated, but her results stalled. So, she made a choice to make herself suffer. She committed to an intense training regimen that pushed her to her limits. She woke up at 4 a.m. to run, lifted weights in the afternoon, and tracked every calorie, cutting out all her favorite foods. It was brutal. There were days she wanted to quit, times she doubted it was worth it. But she kept going. Why? Because she had a clear vision. She saw herself standing on the Olympic podium, gold medal shining around her neck. That vision fueled her every morning, even when her body screamed to stop. And after years of deliberate suffering, she made it. She stood on that podium, living her dream. In that moment, every sacrifice, every ounce of pain became worth it. Now, let's talk about another vital aspect of making yourself suffer: the importance of starting small. One of the biggest mistakes people make when embracing deliberate suffering is trying to do too much, too soon. They go from 0 to 100 overnight and burn out just as fast. Remember, suffering is like a muscle. You have to build it gradually, one disciplined step at a time. You wouldn't walk into a gym for the first time and try to bench press 300 pounds, would you? Of course not. You'd start small, with weights you can handle, and gradually build up over time. The same rule applies to deliberate suffering. Start with small challenges. Maybe it's waking up 15 minutes earlier than usual, doing 10 push-ups a day, or reading 10 pages of a challenging book. Keep it small enough to stay consistent, but big enough to push you outside your comfort zone. Then, as those small challenges become easier, raise the bar. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Do 20 push-ups. Read 20 pages. Step by step, day by day, keep increasing the challenge. This gradual approach does two powerful things. It strengthens your suffering muscle, making you more resilient and capable of handling greater obstacles. And it gives you a steady stream of small victories that keep you motivated and engaged. Remember, the goal isn't to make yourself miserable. The goal is to push, to challenge, to grow. And that growth happens slowly, through steady effort and deliberate practice. Now, let's talk about another key aspect of making yourself suffer: the importance of recovery. Suffering isn't meant to be constant. Just like your muscles need rest after a workout to grow stronger, your mind and spirit also need recovery after intense effort. This is where many people go wrong. They push themselves non-stop, day after day, without pausing to recharge. And eventually, they burn out. They lose focus, motivation, and the very drive that once fueled them. But that's not what we're aiming for here. The goal isn't burnout. It's sustainable growth and long-term transformation. And that requires balance, knowing when to push and when to rest. So, make recovery a part of your routine. Maybe it's taking one full day each week to rest and recharge. Maybe it's setting aside a few hours each day for something that renews your energy. Whatever form it takes, treat recovery as non-negotiable, because it's not a luxury and it's not a weakness. It's a vital part of the growth process. During those moments of rest, your mind and body absorb what you've learned, repair from the stress you've endured, and prepare for what's next. Think of it like pulling back the string of a bow. That tension builds potential energy, but if you never release it, the arrow never flies. Recovery is that release. It's what allows your effort, discipline, and suffering to propel you toward your goals. Now, let's address something many people wonder. Jim, this all makes sense for big goals, but what about the small, everyday stuff? The boring, routine tasks I just don't want to do? And that's a fair question. The truth is, most of life is filled with ordinary tasks. The dishes that need washing, the emails waiting for replies, the errands that never seem to end. And yes, these can be a form of suffering too. But here's the thing. Even the mundane moments hold power when you approach them with the right mindset. Even the most mundane tasks can become opportunities for growth if you approach them with the right mindset. Instead of seeing them as chores, view them as chances to strengthen your discipline, to build your suffering muscle. For example, if you hate doing the dishes, don't wait until the sink is overflowing. Challenge yourself to wash them right after every meal. Turn it into a small game. See how quickly you can get it done, or use it as a moment to practice mindfulness by focusing completely on the task. Or maybe you dread answering emails. Instead of letting them pile up, schedule a set time each day to clear your inbox. Push yourself to be more efficient, to communicate clearly and concisely. When you handle these ordinary tasks with intention, something powerful happens. They stop feeling like burdens. They become opportunities for small wins, for sharpening focus, discipline, and consistency. And here's the best part. This approach doesn't just make those tasks easier. It makes you better at them. As you improve, they take less time, less energy, and free you to focus on bigger, more meaningful goals. Now, let's talk about another crucial element of making yourself suffer: accountability. It's one thing to make a private promise to yourself. It's another to make that promise public. When others know about your goals, when someone's watching, you hold yourself to a higher standard. Without accountability, it's easy to let things slide, to make excuses, or to quit when things get tough. Excuses make it easy to put things off or quit when challenges arise. But when others are watching, when you know you'll have to answer to someone, it becomes much harder to slack off. That's why you need an accountability partner. It could be a friend, a family member, a colleague, or a coach. The person doesn't matter as much as their role. Someone who will hold you to your word and refuse to let you take the easy way out. Share your goals with them. Tell them about the suffering you've chosen to endure. Ask them to check in regularly, to ask tough questions, to call you out when you're falling short. It might feel uncomfortable at first, even vulnerable. But that discomfort, that openness, is another form of suffering that will make you stronger in the long run. I'm reminded of two friends who decided to train for a marathon together. Neither of them were runners, and neither were in great shape. But they made a pact to keep each other accountable. They met every morning at 5 a.m., rain or shine. They texted their daily mileage and called each other out if one started slipping. And it worked. On mornings when one wanted to stay in bed, the thought of disappointing the other got them up and running. On days when they wanted to cut the run short, knowing they had to report their progress kept them going. 6 months later, they crossed the finish line, something they once thought impossible. And they did it because they were willing to make themselves suffer together. They succeeded because they had each other to lean on, to push, and to hold accountable. But I know what some of you are thinking. Jim, this all sounds great, but what if I fail? What if I make myself suffer and still don't reach my goals? That's a fair question, because the truth is, there are no guarantees in life. You can do everything right, sacrifice, suffer, and push yourself to the edge, and still fall short of the goal you set. But here's the thing. Even if you don't hit the target, the process itself is priceless. The discipline you build, the habits you form, the strength you discover, those are the real rewards. Imagine this. You set a goal to lose 50 pounds in 6 months. You change your diet, work out daily, and truly make yourself suffer. But at the end of 6 months, you've lost 30 pounds instead. You might feel like you failed, but think again. You've developed healthier eating habits, made exercise part of your life, and proved that you can stay committed to something hard. You've still lost 30 pounds, a major accomplishment on its own. So, was all that effort worthless just because you missed a number? Of course not. Because the real value doesn't lie in the exact outcome. It's found in who you become during the journey. The discipline, habits, and mindset you build along the way don't disappear when you fall short. They stay with you, and they're what ultimately shape the person you're meant to be. The lessons you gain, the discipline you build, and the mindset you develop stay with you. They become part of who you are and prepare you for future success in ways you can't yet imagine. So don't fear failure. Don't let the fear of falling short stop you from pushing yourself, from making yourself suffer. Because even in failure, there is growth. Even in falling short, there is progress. As we near the end, let's talk about one final and crucial part of making yourself suffer: the importance of reflection. Suffering without reflection is just pain, but suffering combined with reflection becomes a powerful tool for growth and self-discovery. Make reflection a consistent part of your routine. Take time each day, week, or month to look back on your struggles, your progress, and your lessons. Ask yourself, what did I learn from this suffering? How did it change me? What worked? What didn't? How can I apply these lessons moving forward? Reflection serves several purposes. First, it ensures that your suffering leads to real growth, that you're not just enduring pain, but learning from it. Second, it helps you refine your approach. You may realize that your goals need adjusting, that there are better ways to push yourself, or that you need to show yourself more compassion. And third, reflection keeps things in perspective. It reminds you how far you've come, the progress you've made, and the person you're becoming. That awareness can be deeply motivating when the road gets hard. I once knew a CEO who made reflection a key part of his weekly routine. Every Sunday evening, he sat down and reviewed his week, his wins, his losses, his challenges, and his lessons. It kept him grounded, focused, and ready to face whatever came next. Each week, that CEO would review his successes and failures, his moments of strength and weakness. He'd ask himself tough questions. Did I push hard enough this week? Did I make excuses? Did I let fear hold me back? What did I learn, and how can I improve next week? That regular reflection was a form of suffering on its own. It wasn't comfortable. It forced him to face difficult truths about himself. But it was powerful. It helped him refine his methods, learn from his mistakes, and reach new levels of excellence. Over time, this combination of reflection and deliberate suffering transformed him from a good leader into a great one. It helped him build a world-class company, achieve remarkable success, and inspire others to push themselves beyond their limits. So as you continue your own journey of deliberate suffering, don't forget to make time for reflection. It won't always feel pleasant. It may even hurt, but it's essential. Reflection is what turns suffering into growth and pain into progress. Now, as we reach the end of our time together, I want to leave you with one final thought. Making yourself suffer isn't about being miserable or punishing yourself. It's about challenge. It's about pushing your limits to become your best self. It's about waking up each day and asking, what can I do today to become stronger? What can I endure that will make me more resilient? What can I sacrifice that will bring me closer to my goals? Because here's the truth. Comfort never creates greatness. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Ease destroys excellence. The path of least resistance leads only to mediocrity. But when you're willing to make yourself suffer, to face the hard things, push through pain, and embrace discomfort, that's when real growth begins. That's when you start unlocking your true potential. That's when you begin to become the person you were meant to be. So, I challenge you, starting today, choose the harder path. Embrace discomfort. Push your limits. Do the things that scare you. Sacrifice what's merely good so you can reach for what's truly great. It won't be easy. There will be days you want to quit, moments you question if it's all worth it. But I promise you this. If you stay the course, if you embrace the suffering and push through the pain, you'll come out stronger, more resilient, and more capable than you ever imagined. And one day, you'll look back on all that struggle, all that sacrifice, and realize it was never suffering at all. It was growth. It was progress. It was the price you paid to become who you are today. Go out there and make yourself suffer. Your future self will thank you for it. Wishing you health, happiness, and the strength to keep growing. And don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily.